Samantha Sanders couldn't stop staring at her hand. The diamond on her ring finger sparkled under the soft afternoon light, reminding her that she was now a married woman. Mrs. Samantha Sanders. It had a nice ring to it, she thought. The wedding had been perfect. Roses everywhere, their closest friends and family gathered around, and Andrew's heartfelt vows that made nearly everyone tear up. It was the day she had dreamed of since she was a little girl. Yet, now just a few months into their marriage, she felt a strange uneasiness deep inside. Not that she didn't love Andrew. She did, fiercely, but something felt off. She glanced over at Andrew sitting on the couch, flipping through one of his poetry books. He looked up and smiled at her, his dark eyes twinkling. "I love you," he said softly. Samantha smiled back, but something inside her stirred. Andrew told her that he loved her multiple times a day, during breakfast, over text messages, and as they lay in bed each night. He even wrote poems for her, carefully crafting words to capture his feelings. It should have been enough, right? It was what most women dreamed of. Yet, every time he said it, it felt more like an echo than something tangible she could hold on to. "I love you too," she replied, though her voice lacked the warmth she wished she felt. Andrew didn't seem to notice. He closed his book and came over to her, placing a soft kiss on her forehead before whispering another "I love you" in her ear. She hugged him back, feeling the warmth of his body, but it wasn't enough. Not today. She wanted more, something she couldn't quite put into words. As he moved away, heading into the kitchen, Samantha let out a sigh. How could someone say all the right things and yet still make her feel so disconnected? She needed to talk to someone to sort out the mess of emotions swirling in her mind. But who could understand? Samantha had always been the kind of person who needed touch, closeness, and attention to feel loved. When Andrew first held her hand during their college days, it had sent sparks through her. His arm around her waist made her feel safe, like she was the most important person in the world. The flowers he used to surprise her with, the way he would hold her when they watched movies together, or even just how he played with her hair while they talked. Those were the moments she cherished. But lately those moments seemed to be growing fewer and farther between. Andrew, meanwhile, had grown more comfortable expressing his love through words, always telling her how beautiful she was, how much he adored her. His poetic love notes often appeared next to her morning coffee or slipped into her bag when she wasn't looking. But those words, as sweet as they were, didn't make up for the missing hugs or the spontaneous hand-holding. "I wish he would just be closer," she confided to her best friend, Jenna, during one of their regular coffee dates. "Closer how?" Jenna asked, taking a sip from her latte. "You know, physically. Like, I want him to hold me or just be near me. He's always so busy with his work or his poetry, and when he says I love you, it's sweet. But I don't feel it as much as I used to." Jenna nodded knowingly. "That's love languages for you." Samantha frowned. "Love languages?" "Yeah, you know how people give and receive love differently. Some people like gifts, others need words. Some want quality time or acts of service, and some, like you, need physical touch. I bet Andrew's love language is words of affirmation." "Words of affirmation?" "You know, expressing love through words. That's probably why he's always telling you he loves you. It's his way of showing it. But your love language seems to be physical touch. So, no matter how many times he says I love you, it won't hit the same if he's not giving you the closeness you need." Samantha blinked. That made so much sense. Jenna was right. Andrew always used words, and she craved touch. The two of them were speaking different languages, and it explained why she was feeling so distant lately. That evening, after Andrew returned home from work, Samantha decided to bring it up. "Can we talk?" she asked, sitting next to him on the couch. "Of course," Andrew said, setting his book down. "Is everything okay?" Samantha took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about us. You know I love you, right?" Andrew smiled, looking a little relieved. "I love you too. You know that. That's just it, Samantha said, fidgeting with her fingers. I do know. You say it all the time and I appreciate it, but sometimes it doesn't feel like enough. I need more than words. Andrew's brow furrowed in confusion. More than words? I need you to show me, she said, her voice soft. I love it when you hold me, or when we just sit together and you touch my hand. Those little moments mean so much to me. But lately, it feels like we're missing that. Andrew sat back, clearly processing what she was saying. I thought saying it, writing it, was enough. I've always believed words are the most powerful way to express love. They are, Samantha agreed, but not for everyone. For me, it's about feeling you close, your touch. It's how I know you care, even when words fail. Andrew's face softened. I didn't realize. I've been showing my love the way I feel it. But you're right. We've been speaking different languages. The next few weeks were a delicate dance as Samantha and Andrew tried to understand each other's love languages better. Samantha made an effort to appreciate Andrew's words more, reading his poems with fresh eyes and letting herself feel the emotion behind them. She even started leaving him little notes of her own, though her words never felt as eloquent as his. Meanwhile, Andrew began to make more of an effort to show his love physically. He would pull her into a hug when he got home from work, sit closer to her during their movie nights, and hold her hand while they walked. It wasn't always perfect, but it was a start. One night, as they lay in bed, Andrew reached over and took her hand in his. I've been thinking about what you said, he began, his voice soft in the darkness. I've always thought words were everything, but I realize now that love is more than that. It's about showing up for each other in the ways we both need. Samantha squeezed his hand, her heart swelling. Thank you, she whispered, feeling a warmth she hadn't in a long time. I love you, he said, this time with his hand wrapped around hers. I love you too, she replied, and for the first time in a while, the words didn't feel empty. They were backed by the closeness she had craved. But Samantha and Andrew weren't the only couple struggling with love languages. Over the years, Samantha had noticed other couples around them wrestling with the same issues. Her older sister Megan and her husband Tom, for instance, were completely opposite in their love languages. Megan loved giving gifts. She was always surprising Tom with thoughtful presents, an engraved watch for their anniversary, a new pair of shoes he had been eyeing. It was her way of showing how much she cared. Tom, on the other hand, preferred spending time together. He didn't care as much about gifts. He just wanted Megan to be there with him, whether it was watching a game or going for a hike. They had their share of disagreements over the years, especially when Megan felt unappreciated for the effort she put into her gifts, and Tom felt neglected when she wasn't making time for him. It took a lot of conversations and compromises before they found their rhythm. And then there was Jenna and her boyfriend, Will. Jenna's love language was acts of service. She loved doing things for Will, like cooking his favorite meals or helping him organize his work. But Will was all about physical affection. He would always reach for her hand or pull her in for a hug. But sometimes he got frustrated when she seemed too busy to reciprocate in the way he wanted. They had once spent an entire evening arguing because Will had interpreted her constant busyness as a lack of interest, when in fact, Jenna was just trying to show her love by taking care of things for him. Through these examples, Samantha began to realize that love was a constant journey of learning and understanding. There was no perfect formula, no one-size-fits-all solution, but the beauty of love was in the effort, the desire to connect, even when the ways you expressed it didn't always align. As Samantha and Andrew continued their journey together, they learned to speak each other's love languages a little more fluently each day. Some days were easier than others, but they were committed to bridging the gap. After all, love wasn't about finding the perfect way to say I love you. It was about showing it in ways that truly made sense, and sometimes that meant learning a new way to speak,